Ella Martin worked at a little corner coffee shop called Perk Pour. She'd been there for almost 7 years, ever since she dropped out of community college to help her mom pay bills after her dad left. She told herself she'd only stay a year or two. She was supposed to go back to school, maybe study design or psychology, she hadn't decided. But life kept happening. Her mom got sick, rent went up. Her old car broke down for good. So Ella stayed, tying her hair back under the same faded green visor, pouring lattes for people who barely looked her in the eye. Most days, she didn't mind. She liked the regulars, Mrs. Ramirez, who tipped her $1 every morning with her drip coffee. Ben, the UPS guy who always asked if she wanted a donut. And Greg, who sat by the window every Sunday sketching cartoons in a notebook. The shop was warm, smelled like cinnamon and burnt espresso. Safe, familiar. But at night, when Ella lay awake in her tiny bedroom above the laundromat, she'd stare at the ceiling and feel the walls pressing closer. She was 28, no degree, no savings, no plan. One Tuesday morning, during the lull between the early commuters and the late lunch rush, Ella noticed a flyer taped to the window by the register. It hadn't been there the day before. It was simple. Open mic night Thursday. Sing, read, speak, share. 7 p.m. She laughed when she saw it. Who would get up and bare their soul in front of strangers? Not her, that was for sure. She wasn't a singer or a poet. She was just Ella, the coffee girl with the polite smile. But later that day, when she went to wipe the windows near Greg's usual spot, she asked, "Hey, did you put up that open mic flyer?" Greg looked up from his sketchbook. He had kind eyes behind round glasses. "Yeah, that was me. Figured this place could use something different. You should do it." Ella snorted. "Me? I don't even know what I'd say." Greg shrugged. "Doesn't have to be fancy, just share something true. People like true." That night, Ella found an old notebook at the back of her closet. She flipped through pages filled with doodles, grocery lists, half-finished thoughts. Near the middle, she found something she'd written years ago, a letter to her younger self. It was raw and messy. She'd written it the night she realized her dad wasn't coming back. It said things like, "You are not broken because he left. You are not less. You don't have to keep proving you're worth staying for." Ella read it 3 times, her throat tightening. She'd forgotten she ever had those words in her. Maybe she could read it, just once. Just to remind herself she was more than the polite smile and the green visor. Thursday came too fast. She almost didn't go through with it. All day she kept imagining herself standing there, voice shaking, people staring. She burned 2 cappuccinos and forgot a muffin order because her hands wouldn't stop trembling. Greg noticed. He tapped his pen on his sketch pad. "You're gonna do it, right?" Ella bit her lip. "I don't know." Greg closed his sketchbook and pushed it toward her. On the cover, he'd drawn a cartoon of her behind the counter, smiling but with a little superhero cape fluttering behind her. Below it, he'd written, "Your voice matters." That night, she stood in the corner of the shop, clutching her notebook like a shield. There were maybe 20 people there, regulars, a few college kids, a couple she'd seen come in for date nights. Greg gave her a thumbs up from his usual seat by the window. When it was her turn, she almost bolted. But instead, she stepped forward, cleared her throat, and said, "Hi, I'm Ella. I make your coffee. Tonight, I'm gonna read something I wrote a long time ago to someone I used to be." Her hands shook so badly she thought she might drop the notebook. But as she read about her dad leaving, about her mother's quiet strength, about the girl who promised she wouldn't disappear into the walls, the cafe fell silent. Even the espresso machine seemed to hold its breath. When she finished, she stared at the floor, waiting for the polite claps. But what came next surprised her real applause. Warm, kind, not huge, not deafening, but enough to make her believe for the first time in a long time that maybe people did see her. Not just the girl behind the counter, but the person behind the smile. After, an older woman came up and touched her arm. "Thank you for reading that. I wish I'd written myself a letter like that when I was young." Greg just grinned and handed her a fresh page from his sketchbook. It was a drawing of her standing on a tiny stage, notebook in hand, a soft halo of light around her. He'd written, "First of many." Ella didn't quit her job the next day. She didn't get discovered or land a book deal or start touring open mics. But the next week, she read again, and the next. She started scribbling new words in her notebook during slow shifts. On lunch breaks, she looked up community college classes she might still finish. And when customers asked how she was, she didn't just say, "Good, thanks." Sometimes she said, "I'm writing something. Want to hear it?" And a surprising number said yes. Moral of the story: you don't have to shout to be heard, you just have to speak. You don't have to be extraordinary to matter. You just have to be honest. Sometimes, the courage to share a small, true piece of yourself is all it takes to remind you that you're still here and you're not invisible.